Tony and I got married at an early age, and back then, we didn't have much. But from the very beginning, Tony was determined to create a better future for our family. Shortly after we were married, Tony joined the Army and we moved to our first duty station at Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Those weren't always easy years, but they taught us the importance of sacrifice, faith, and commitment. What I've always admired about my husband is that he's the same person at home that people see in the public. He's honest, he's humble, and he genuinely cares about people. He's a devoted husband, a loving father, and a proud grandfather. Tony and I have been together for 43 years, and I've been blessed to stand beside him through every chapter of our lives. I'm Annette Umpinko Ada, and I humbly ask for your support and vote for my husband, Tony Ada, for Governor of Guam.
I'm Tony Ada, and I approve this message. Together, we'll put Guam first.
Hafaday, I'm Therese Terlahi.
And I'm Sabina Perez.
We believe that Guam should be a safe, flourishing island with a government that lowers the cost for everyday people, replaces corruption with fair economic opportunity, fights to stop meth, and shelters unhoused children.
Protects our water and investigates the source of contaminants. Our records show our integrity, honesty, and ability to listen and follow through.
We need your help to stand up for what is right. Vote Terlahi Perez.
A vote for us is a vote for Guam.
I am Therese Terlahi, and I approve this message.
I believe we are highly blessed on this island and let me explain that. Sometimes it seems in the course of our lives and in our struggle to understand why certain things happen, why some people do the things that they do, why we ourselves do some of the things that make the mistakes that we make, and we wrangle with it, and we struggle with conscience. We struggle with identity as a people, especially when bad things happen and they seem to go unaddressed, or what makes people who have a sense of justice, who are paying attention to an issue, feel all the more powerless. And I feel this all the time myself, is when it seems like nobody cares, or the vast majority of people don't care unless it affects them. But over the past several days, what I've seen in this island is people from all walks of life caring about children. So much so that people who you would never see getting involved or never hear getting involved in controversy, in conversations of a political nature, are the ones who, when someone in the Tenorio Muñoz Barnes camp tries to defend, tries to qualify the mockery of children with special needs, you see ordinary, everyday people who you never hear from saying, wait a minute, no, that's not right. That's wrong. It's never okay to defend the mockery of children, especially children with special needs. And these appear to be absolute strangers to the next person. People who don't themselves have children with special needs. People who don't have children. People, again, who never really do get involved in politics. Taking a stand. And it makes me feel good again about Guam. It makes me feel good again about, and excited that, because the timing of this is, there's an election in Thursday, Friday, in 3 days. There's an election in people's hearts coming together for children and for the most vulnerable. Just 3 days prior to an election, that makes me feel good about Guam. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if good prevails at the election. But even if, and because this is beyond an election, even though that's the time to take the action, right? That really is, as citizens, that really is the time to take the action. But even beyond that, that I can be reminded, and you can be reminded, we all can be reminded, that when push comes to shove, the Guamanian people, the citizens of this island, will rally behind people who need a voice, and will give voice to those people, and won't be afraid to stand up to the bullies. That makes me feel so good. On this show, I want to talk about two things. One is the failure of this government to secure DSNAP, and that happens because the government has failed to convince the federal government to make a major disaster declaration, which would unlock individual assistance through the FEMA program. DSNAP, over at the Food and Nutrition Services under the U.S. Department of Agriculture, is tied directly to a major disaster declaration under FEMA. And that's the reason why we're not getting DSNAP for Sinlaku. And I don't know if we're going to get it for Bavi. Apparently, the administration's trying. The administration's appealing the denial on Sinlaku. But I'll tell you this. Again, I've been in the government under 2 administrations. And I'll tell you this. Governors have never been denied this before. And this is not at this level. With the level of destruction and the level of losses that our people have gone through because of the food shortage. I mean, the food spoilages. So I want to talk about that. And I want to talk because I'm not going to sugarcoat it the way the government's sugarcoating it, as though this is just because it was a federal decision. No, the federal decision was made because of local actions. And I want to talk about that. But the first thing I want to bring you is an interview that I had this morning with the mother of a child who has autism. And this child, he apparently recently graduated from, or was promoted from elementary school, and is going to be attending. It's either, yeah. She said he's 11, so it must be elementary school. Will be going into secondary schools in the public school system, and she has a lot to say to our audience and to the political establishment about what was said Sunday night, how the crowd reacted, the lack of action from politicians, and how we as a community can be better informed about these issues so that we can move forward. But toward the end of the interview, she talked about how a fire has been lit, and I want to bring that to you. But first, before I cut to the commercial break, this was prior. I conducted this interview prior to the scandal that happened on Sunday night. This interview was conducted on Saturday. And so I didn't get a chance to ask Senator Therese Terlahi, who's running for governor, and Senator Sabina Perez, who's running for lieutenant governor, about this whole issue with the direct issue with the scandal on the anti-special education, anti-short bus derogatory comment that was made and the laughter that followed and all that stuff, right? I did, however, get to ask that of Senator Jocelyn Augustine and Senator Dwayne St. Nicholas, and I will be making a clip of that and bringing that to you either today or tomorrow. But I was able to make a clip yesterday, and I just wasn't able, I didn't have any time yesterday to load this up, so I wanted to play it now, of a response to a question I asked Senator Therese Terlahi about poverty and about what she understood about the conditions our people go through. Now, there was a longer answer that she gave, but I divided this up, or I spliced this up to bring you the most salient points from that answer. And I thought it was appropriate to play here because it goes into this whole issue about being a voice for those who are voiceless. So right now we'll have this clip from Senator Terlahi. Later, I'm going to bring you a clip from Senator Dwayne St. Nicholas, who's running for lieutenant governor, who spoke very specifically about poverty, the conditions of poverty, but also what children with special needs and their parents and grandparents go through. First, here's the clip from Senator Terlahi.
But we can't just say, oh, this is a problem that we always have had. No, I don't agree. These are the same people. Some of them been displaced as entire clans from their land, and then they end up with nothing. Some of them just were never given the skills that they needed. Some of them just, we've got a drug problem. And that's one of the things that I'm very adamant that's going to be one of our priorities. Can I tell you a story?
Yes, please.
So when I was a freshman senator, this is around 2018, that was when the headlines were about a child who was homeless being raped by another homeless person. This is like 4 years old. And that just so infuriated me. And I just couldn't believe, how could this happen? And why do we have homeless children anyways, right? Why isn't what's going on in the shelters? So of course I had to really do a hands-on, check this out. And I did, and this is the saddest part about this story is that this happened adjacent to a homeless shelter in an abandoned building because there was no room in the shelter for the child, the family. So it still makes me very angry. That's why I'm getting emotional. But it's infuriating why, that actually happened. That happens, maybe back then and maybe now, right? And everything was infuriating about it. First of all, there was no room, literally at the shelter. There was no room, and so we know that. Where are the shelters? Why is it taking them so long to open up shelters? We purchased property, some of them in 2021, and we're waiting for those shelters to open. Meantime, abandoned buildings, they're not taken care of, so that put it to use, make it safe, get them a door that can lock if we're gonna make them live there, or we're just gonna turn the other way while they live there. What happened in that case was eventually those abandoned buildings just got torn down. They didn't get fixed up. They were old government buildings. They didn't get fixed up. They didn't I don't know. So it was the whole big thing. And what I did was I brought all the women senators at that time to come with me to see what I saw. I wanted them to see the shelter. I wanted to see the adjacent buildings. I wanted to see where everyone was living. And I just wanted them to hear from the shelter workers about, what a shortage we have and how they prioritize people. And that really made me work very hard in this foster children situations to do oversight after oversight of CPS regarding the foster kids and how we're going to fix the situation when they were going to open up the shelter up at the new shelter for the children to maximize the capacity there, because of course that's not ideal to have a lot of children, but it's better than them being on the street. So we did what we had to do in the law to make sure that they could bring in all the children that we can bring in, right? And but those are not the perfect solutions. Those are just temporary, immediate emergency measures. So of course we have to take care of families that are homeless. We should prioritize them, and we just should never ever as a community say that that's okay. Never.
At my parish, Our Lady of Lourdes in Jigo, I think this is the same as in every parish. I don't know. I'm not I'm not super Catholic. I am a practicing Catholic, but I just haven't been involved long enough to know the ins and outs. But I do know that in my parish, we can go to the rectory and request to make prayer intentions. And I thought, what an appropriate thing to do prayer intentions. And so today I'm going to go there and I'm going to ask that for tomorrow night's Mass, the Mass be that people give their prayer intentions through the patronage of saints who have been dedicated and through whose intercession we make these prayers. And I looked it up, and the patron saints, according to Arlington Catholic Herald, for people with physical, developmental, and mental health needs are Saint Margaret of Castello, Saint Joseph of Cupertino, and Saint Dymphna. And actually, I wore pink today because I hope I'm right, but I was told that pink is a color of mental health. So I wore this in support of everyone who goes through some type of mental health issue. And I myself fall within that spectrum because I am a recovering drug addict. I haven't done drugs in years and years, but that doesn't mean that I'm not an addict. I'm still an addict. I'm just an addict who has been graced by God, and through the hard efforts of friends and family who have supported me in the battles that I have with mental health. And so I wanted to do those prayer intentions tomorrow night, along with through the patronage of St. Francis of Assisi, and Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta for everyone living in poverty. And so I invite you all to, that my point was, I invite you all to Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic Church tomorrow night for the Mass at 6 p.m., where if my requests are accepted, the Mass will be offered uh, for the intentions of everyone who deals with physical, developmental, and mental health needs, and also who are impoverished. On the other side of the commercial break, we'll go straight to my interview with Kenesha Afaisen, whose son, Evan, is on the autism spectrum. Stick with us.
Leadership isn't measured by campaign promises. It's measured by a lifetime of keeping them. For years, Tony Atta has delivered results for the people of Guam. He authored Guam's Castle Doctrine, strengthening the rights of law-abiding citizens to protect themselves and their families. He passed laws protecting consumers, strengthened opportunities to bring more doctors and healthcare professionals to Guam, fought for small local businesses, and worked to make government serve the people, not the other way around. His record isn't built on speeches. It's built on action, on integrity, on keeping his word. That's what put Guam first means, putting our island first.
As your governor, I will lead with integrity, and every decision I make will put Guam first. I'm Tony Atta, and I humbly ask for your vote. I'm Tony Atta, and I approve this message.
Half a day, I'm Therese Terlahi.
And I'm Sabina Perez.
As your senators, you've seen us fight for lower fuel and utilities costs, lower real property taxes, for the Chamorro Land Trust and affordable housing, to stop meth from entering our island.
For your environment, to remove abandoned vehicles and illegal dumping, for fairness in procurement, and for resources of the government to benefit all the people of Guam.
We've been fighting for you, and that's why we're running for governor
And Lieutenant Governor.
Please vote Terlahi Perez.
A vote for us is a vote for Guam.
I am Therese Terlahi, and I approve this message.
Good Morning Show with Troy Torres is brought to you by 76 Circle K Guam.
It is 6:52 in the morning on Wednesday, July 29, 2026. My name is Troy Torres with Kandit News, and joining me by phone for this interview is Kenesha Afaisen. Good morning, Kenesha.
Good morning, Troy.
Thank you so much for this interview. Let's start with why you reached out and why you want the people of Guam to know more about your story and your thoughts on this.
Well, I see everybody's entitled to their opinion, yes, but I see a lot of support with the comments that were made, but there's also still so much hate, out there. There's still so much of why are you so sensitive or why, and it's like people obviously do not have common human decency, I guess, or they must not know what it means or what it's like to have a special needs person or child in your life, or somebody who's not quite able to take care of themselves and do for themselves and need that support and stuff. And it's not to say that they're dumb or they're stupid, they're different, yes, but and I just don't think people really understand the struggle that this island already faces with not having enough for them. There's nothing here. I know that teachers still do the best they can, but at the end of the day, Guam comes short when it comes to the special needs kids and the people with disabilities all around the island. Honestly.
Kenesha, do you have a child or children who has or have special needs?
Yes, I do.
I
have a son. His name is Evan.
Okay.
He is 11 years old now. He's getting ready to go into middle school, and it truly is the scariest feeling. I worry about him getting bullied. I worry about him not having a one-to-one, because that's what I'm told is there's no guarantee he would have one. And it's a big transition, you know. Children with autism, they rely on consistency. They rely on, you know, all of that to get through their day, and little things such as, you know, the toothpaste it's not the right one. Things like that, as small as that, can trigger a never ending, the whole day can be off for him, you know. And it's like, I have to worry about kids bullying him, but here we are making these comments, and I'm now having to worry about adults and whether they will be kind and accepting. And that's just, it's sad. It really is.
Does Evan have any brothers and sisters?
Yes, he does. I have an older son. He's also at Jose Rios with him. And I have a daughter and a toddler who's 3.
When I don't know if you and your husband have had this conversation with each other yet, but I know that many parents of children with special needs, and even when their children are adults, the top contemplation for them is, you know, what happens to them when they die. Is that something that you and your husband think about in terms of whether your son will be autonomous, able to care for himself when he's an adult?
Oh, of course. And every parent, I'm sure, goes through this on, you know, wondering whether he would ever have a normal life. And, you know, the reality is autism doesn't go away. You know, it's there. And it took a long time for me to really grasp that and really accept that. You know, in the beginning when we found out, I didn't know what to do. You know, it did take a while for us to get him tested, and he wasn't tested till almost 3. And, you know, by that time, there's not a lot of, you kind of phase out of that part. You go into, it's called Plan B, where it's already more like a school setting. So the home support, we didn't get as much as we should have had we tested him sooner, or had we known, you know, to look at these signs sooner and stuff. So everything that we've done so far is just like learning as we go.
Yeah.
And I always have this fear on what's going to happen to him. You know, is he going to be able to go without a one-to-one? Is he going to be able to, you know, use the restroom on himself? And this was prior, you know, use the restroom by himself without, you know, any support. Or it's a lot, because I look at my other kids, and we have gone through, you know, a school saying that if he doesn't change his behavior, he can't be accepted here. And, you know, it caused me to pull my other son out. And that's just, you know, some of the things that people with special needs face. Is you have a typical child who nothing's wrong, you know, and I'm not saying anything's wrong with autism, because there are far worse things that a child can endure, or a parent can endure, than autism. It is one of the most beautiful, you know, things that you can go through and experience, and it really helps you learn patience and understanding, and, you know, everything that goes along with it. And but yes, I do worry whether or not he's going to be okay, or who's going to be with him. But the best we can do is, you know, be with him every step of the way, teach him, because they can be independent. They're not stupid, you know, they're not incapable. It's just, all of them, they learn differently. But I've seen, you know, kids, every time I come across another parent who has an autistic child, and they say he's 18, he just graduated, and I'm just like, it's amazing, you know, because I'm here worried about 6th grade, but here you are, high school, here you are working a job. And it really does give comfort that there's a possibility that he will have what everybody else deserves, you know, a normal and full life.
Well, let's talk about the stereotypes that
Mm-hmm.
some and I have to tell you, uh, in my view of the comments, it seems to be 99 to 1. You know, so it's just
Mm-hmm.
1% of people who make insensitive comments. But let's talk about the Tenorio Muñoz Barnes rally where
Mm-hmm.
the MC made the unfortunate comment, right?
Yeah.
What did you think that he meant when he said, if you vote for number 1 or number 3, you're sped? You wrote the short bus.
So what I gathered from that is, of course, you know, if you vote 1 and 3, that's obviously the dumb decision. That's obviously the wrong decision. That's obviously a stupid decision.
So
And
equating that vote with, or equating being dumb or stupid with being in special education.
yes, and that is, you know, it couldn't be farther from the truth. And if that's what you think, if that's how you connect the dots of a stupid decision, is that they must be on the short bus, I mean, how small-minded can you be?
Mm-hmm.
How, and the fact that it was just so comfortably said, you know, so it just rolled off like it was nothing. And you know, you can go and say, oh, you know, he's a comedian, he said, and this is not a comedy show though, you know. And even at that, there's just lines, I'm sure, that you just don't cross in a comedy show. You know, it's not, I'm not naive, you know. I know that people say things, people make jokes, people make ignorant comments and stuff, but I would like to think that in this world, there's this line, and you just know, you should know not to cross it, especially when these people are born this way. There's absolutely nothing we can do to change them. There's nothing that they can do to change it. And you know, I think of my son and how he was nonverbal, and how you know, he constantly, and I think of him now and I'm like, he speaks, he writes, he reads, he can make his own food, he, you know. And I'm like, he's not dumb. He rides the short bus for safety and independence, and it's just, you can't take that away. Like when he got off the bus for the first time this summer, it was a look that, like, you know, I drop him and pick him up almost every day since he was kinder. So for him to say, Mom, I'm going to school, and walk out, Mom, I'm home, and walk in, you know, how can you go and easily say they must be stupid?
What was your reaction, Kenesha, right after that when you heard the laughter from the crowd?
I truly couldn't believe it, honestly. You know, it's like the comment was made and then the laughs follow, and it was so loud, you know, like, and I'm not trying to mean that general, but it was so loud in my heart. And I just, how can you sit there and find that funny, you know, all the people there? And if you, I don't know, you know, at first, initially, I was just angry. And that's why when I got the video, you know, it took seconds for me to already say something. And you know, I'd like to believe it wasn't till I posted that, because I say I was one of the first ones to post it, and that's how that thing, and I tagged all of them, that's how it got removed. And you only found a problem with it when somebody had to tell you it was wrong, because you didn't find a problem when it was said. You didn't get up there and say, hey, that's not right. Everybody laughed. You posted it. It was up there for several hours. You need to tell me nobody caught it? And then the second somebody tells you, hey, this is not right, that's when you say, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say it. Well, what did you mean to say? Because I did listen to, what do you call that? He went on air with Patty Arroyo the other morning, and she asked him, what were you trying to say? And it kind of like he danced around the question, and I'm just like, well, answer it. What were you trying to say? Help me try to understand that this was just, I mean, of course it's a mistake, you know. Of course it's a mistake, but just help me try and understand there's a different train thought to your comment than what I'm gathering, because what I'm gathering and you're saying sped must be stupid, it's just unforgivable. There's just no excuse. There's nothing you can say, the amount of sorries that will change the way that I feel.
Kenisha, do you believe that the apologies from that man, the MC, and then the apologies that followed from the candidates, Tenorio and Munya Barnes, were sincere?
You know, it's funny that you asked that, because it's almost like I was calling out, and so when I first posted, I said, watch, they're gonna delete it and then say sorry. And that's exactly what happened. And then my friend, they messaged me, you were right, you called it. And I said, yeah. And then when they did that, you know, written apology or the formal announcement, and not just them, but even other political parties, they said, you know, they said, we do not stand by this comment, blah, blah, blah. What I wanted is actual human connection. What I wanted is for them to come on and not write it on a paper and not have someone proofread. I want to hear just your mind, just your thoughts. I want you to talk to us as a people. I want you, because you spoke about real life people. You spoke about real life people that ride the short bus, you know, and, you know, even to call it the short bus, it's just so, it's frustrating that that's, you know, what was said. But, yeah, I really just wanted something, I don't know, a little more.
Do you have an additional concern? It wasn't just a political rally, but it was a political rally for the incumbent. So, is there there's two questions here. The first is there an additional concern that you have that the same people who are leading the programs that are supposed to be helping people with disabilities and children with special needs were there, might possibly have been laughing along with the joke, and also did not take the stage to stop the crowd from, or to correct the behavior, or to educate the behavior? As a consumer, does that make you feel a little more powerless, that this is your own government that is doing this? What are your thoughts about that?
Oh, completely. Because, like I said, the struggles we face day to day in the school system already, it's like you say they need this, this, and this, and this, but you cannot provide this, this, this. You cannot provide what they need. Or it just comes as like, it's like, oh, well, you have all this federal funds, and you have all, apparently we are like, we have an abundance of money, or, you know, when they say that at the end of the year, I'm like, well, why couldn't we hire one-to-ones, or why don't we have more special needs support? Like, and then you look at the people, and that's why I said I worry when I make my son go to school, his one-to-one, to care for somebody else's child, or any child, it takes a special, you know, not everybody's cut out to do it and stuff. So when I drop my son, and I worry whether his one-to-one is going to give him the care that he needs, you know, I'd expect that they are formally trained, that they know how to speak and this and that. So it does trouble me that the people running if they were there, you know, and they laugh too, I'm like, is this what you do? Is this what you teach the people that you hire, the people that are supposed to care for our children when we drop them off and we expect to pick them up in the same health that we left them in, you know? So it is troubling that as many people laughed as they did, and nobody thought to go up there and say, hey, that actually wasn't wrong, or got up and left, or got, you know, it just, everybody there was just too comfortable with it.
Do these 8 seconds help to explain more why the government of Guam has not prioritized special needs as you would expect them to?
No, and that's the, you know, a lot of the aides, my son has gone through quite a bit within his time in elementary and stuff. And, you know, it's funny because when we had this one aide who he finally, you know, built a relationship with and he was good with and everything. And then he informed me that he was leaving. He was resigning to go work at Koshulas. And I'm like, what? You know, you're resigning to go work a government job to go work at Koshulas. And it just baffled me because I'm like, why would anybody do this? You know, I'm like, oh, everybody wants to get into the government. You know, that's where the benefits are and stuff. And, you know, for him to tell me that Koshulas paid more just as a regular incoming employee than these one-to-ones get paid with no benefits. They're not year-round. They don't get, you know, they have to get approval to work for summer school if your child goes for the extended school year. Like, everything has to be approved. They're not just, you know, they just don't get the same benefits as regular aides or teachers and stuff. And that's why you can't keep them around. That's why, you know, they have all these positions. But realistically, in this economy now, who's going to do it?
How does that make you feel when you hear senators talking about the budget and volleying around millions and millions of dollars for all of these other programs?
You know, I don't know all the legalities and everything that goes with it, but I mean, common sense, for me, I just look at it as basic. It's what's needed. Aren't you here to provide what's needed for the people? Like, is that not what you're here for? Is that not why we elect you? Is that not why you're in that place? So when you come back and you know, special needs, the SPED department, it falls short. And then, oh my God, when they put in the news how much federal funds got lost and this, I'm just like, it just amazes me how in the world they allow this to happen. We can't afford this, we can't, but of course we could afford to just lose money, right? We could afford, it doesn't make any sense to me. Nobody's explaining to me why we don't have one-to-ones, or why, you know, incoming for my son coming into middle school, his one-to-one does not follow him. They don't stay with them the whole time. So, you know, on our meeting as we prepare for the next school year, there's no guarantee that he would even have a one-to-one. It might be just, you know, an aide that's there to support in transition, not the aide that will stay with him and help him in class. And I can't, you know, teachers have, 20 students to look out for. Who's going to fall short? Because the 20 typical students are going to be, you know, okay, they can get through the class time, but my son, who's going through, 1, a complete change of environment, 2, he's now got 7 different classes to transition to and not just staying in one room all day. New people, he's not guaranteed the same classmates as he's been with that know him and accept him. You know, so there's so many things. And then you're going to tell me he may not be guaranteed a one-to-one. So how is he supposed to get through? How is he supposed to transition? Or the aide that's with him may only be, you know, there for the couple of weeks, you know, but I'm just like, I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. So I said, if you do not have an aide for him on the first day of school, I will not drop him.
I'm going to reach out today, Kanisha, to senators and ask them about their prioritization of funding for one-to-one aides, not just for the number of aides, but also for their pay, based on the education that you've just given our audience right now. There's a second component to, and so I commit that to you, by the way. There's a second component to the crowd, a second participant to in the crowd during that rally, who is perhaps more consequential than any person who was there, more consequential than Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio even, and that is Governor Lou Leon Guerrero. You know, as a Guamanian, as a resident, as a citizen of Guam, knowing that the governor of Guam was there, what did you expect the governor of Guam to do as soon as she heard what the MC said?
The same thing as I expected every person there. It really is just, it doesn't even matter what your, title is. It really is just common human decency. And I even say that as being offended. It doesn't take a sped parent or a special needs parent to be offended by this. We should all be offended by it. We should all be upset by it. It should bother us entirely that this is the world. It's like, what are we teaching our kids? This is why the generation now is like this, is because we lost sight of values and more and discipline. Now it's, you can't discipline your kid or else you're abusing them, or and then you have to take into consideration is everybody has emotion, or everybody's, and that's what it is. It's a growing world. So it really has nothing to do with the governor it just is anybody should have stepped up. It didn't have to, but the fact that they are our leaders, that's just, it's an even bigger slap in the face, because we look to them. The island looks to them to lead. That's why we put them there.
Kanisha,
if you don't lead,
oh no, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
If you're not leading by example, then what are you doing? What's your purpose?
Kanisha, my last question is, what is the damage that has been done to advocacy for children with special needs and to the role that parents of children with special needs have? And what can be done to reverse this damage?
I don't think that anything can be done to reverse this damage. I think what's said has been said. I don't think anybody, and I'd like to think, because I'm speaking for myself, of course, but I'm pretty sure the parents feel just as deeply as this as I do. There's no undoing it, and I don't think there's really damage done. I think you lit a fire again, and it's not, and I'm hoping that it's not just, of course, everybody wants to just get through this election day, the fire's burning to get through August 1st and make sure that people vote, and they vote with intention, and they think about the characters that have just been displayed in this last rally and stuff. And it's not even just the rally, it's just like a build-up. It's a pile up of things, how much scandal and how much, and it's just like, how much can one person take? So now you cross the line of, this actually affected me personally, this hurt me. So now I'm and I'd like to say I've never even registered to vote, but this pushed me. Like, I'm trying to figure out how to register to vote, because even though it's just like, at this point I'm just like, I don't even care who leads. Actually, no, I do care who leads, because I don't pay attention to the political parties or this or that, Democrat, Republican. I just want somebody to make change. I just want a different Guam. I want a Guam that I grew up in, and the kids, it makes me sad that my kids don't know that Guam, the simpler Guam, where we were a people, and now it's just, we're so divided, and there's so much hate, and there's so much. I don't want the dirty politics. I don't want the attack. Just speak about yourself. What are you going to do? And it's not even just what are you going to do? Make sure you do it. Like, follow through with it.
Do you want registered voters to go out this August 1 to go and vote?
Oh, yes, 100%. I mean, I still plan to, I know you can't. I had a shirt made, honestly. And I want to go, even though I can't vote, because what I understand is you have to register, I think, with X amount of days before the election and stuff. So I probably won't be able to vote this one on August 1st, but I would still like to support it and stuff. Like I said, I've never been in the whole political, scene of everything. Guam is Guam, and but this kind of, I wouldn't say it damaged. I would really say it. I hope that it touched people enough to actually do something, because if our leaders aren't going to make the change, obviously the island has to, and the island has to make them have no other choice but to make the change.
Kanisha, this has been an educational interview for me, and my heart is very much touched by everything that you said. And I also understand that your husband is in the military.
Yes, he is. He's also, works for GPA. So, this whole, we've been going through all these comments, and he always tells me, just ignore them, just ignore them. But, there's only so much somebody can take. And I just want people to remember, behind the words you say, there is a person. There is somebody that it affects. There is actual human beings behind all the comments you make on social media and all the comments that you hide behind on social media. And if people just practiced a little more kindness and understanding, maybe we can all come together and make the island great again. I don't know.
Thank you so much for that wisdom, and also thank you to your husband for his service.
Thank you,
Kanisha. You have a great day. God bless you.
You too. Mm-hmm.
That was Kanisha Faison, our interview from this morning. And several takeaways, right? But for me, my job is I got to, aside from voting this Saturday, my job is to reach out to senators today and to ask them whether they will commit to funding more one-to-one aides and funding for an increase in salaries for one-to-one aides so that it is competitive. And then the job that the rest of us have is this Saturday. Go and vote. Go and vote and make your voice heard, not just for yourselves, but for children and children with special needs. On the other side of the commercial break, I'm going to talk about an issue that has, this issue actually, prior to, of course, the scandal that happened on Sunday, this issue that I'm going to bring up is the most requested issue to Kandit, whether it's in our messengers or in our emails, or when I go out into like the gym or the grocery store, the bank, wherever I go, without fail, the number one thing people ask about is, are we getting DSNAP? Are we getting any type of assistance for the spoilage of food that occurred during the typhoons? There was a recent determination that we are not going to get DSNAP for Sinlaku, and that the government is going to appeal that, but is also going to continue to work on getting DSNAP for Bavi. And I want to talk to you about why it feels different between now and when we remember getting assistance. Stick with us, and we'll get to that right after this commercial break.
Hafaday, I'm Therese Terlahi.
And I'm Sabina Perez.
We believe that Guam should be a safe, flourishing island with a government that lowers the cost for everyday people, replaces corruption with fair economic opportunity, fights to stop meth, and shelters unhoused children.
Protects our water and investigates the source of contaminants. Our records show our integrity, honesty, and the ability to listen and follow through.
We need your help to stand up for what is right. Vote Terlahi Perez.
A vote for us is a vote for Guam.
I am Therese Terlahi, and I approve this message.
Sorry. I forgot to turn on my microphone. All I said was welcome back to the show. It is now 9:33 a.m. on Wednesday, July 29, 2026. Thank you so much for joining us. Sorry, I screwed that up a lot. I was saying that Kelly Rodriguez asked a good question. Any normal poll locations are normal poll locations open for this primary election? And what I was saying was that when I looked at the list, I did a cursory review. It appeared like they all were the same, but I'm not entirely sure. I know that for my precinct, which is in Jigo, it's the same. There might have been changes to yours, Kelly. I don't know what precinct you're in, but it might be. I'm not sure. We did post the precincts. It's on our Kandit WhatsApp. It's also on Kandit's Instagram and Facebook page if you want to take a look at it. And if you want to tell me, Kelly, what your precinct is in the comments, then I can look it up for you while we're chatting here. I don't mind doing that. And any of you who would like to know where your polling station is, just let me know what your precinct is. I mean, like, let me know what village you vote in and provide the first letter of your last name. And I'll look it up for you while I'm still on this show, while we're live right now. And I will, I'll read that to you. MTM Kelly says, and Kelly, is your last name Rodriguez? Does it start with R? I can look this up right now. Stand by. GEC.guam.gov. You know what? Why don't I just tell you guys? We'll give you guys all of the information, right? That's probably better. Okay, for voters, general information, where to register, public notice. No. There's a diagram. Oh, there it is. Okay, 2026 election poll sites. So Kelly, for MTM, I believe MTM is always just going to be one. Where is Mongmong Totu Mighty? Son of a gun. Oh, there. Kelly, MTM's has not changed. It's JQ San Miguel Elementary School. For Dededo, there are 3 polling sites. If your last name begins with the letters A, B, or C, your polling site is Weddingale Elementary School. If you vote in Dededo and your last name begins with the letters D through O, I don't have to say D, E, F, G all the way to O, right? Okay, it's D through O. Your polling site is Okudu High School. And if you vote in Dededo and your last name begins with the letters P through Z, your polling site is Liguan Elementary School. For Tamuning I know goes back and forth between certain schools, but I think this is the same as the last time. If you vote in Tamuning, your polling site is JFK High School. MTM, again, it's JQ San Miguel. For Hagutnia, it's the Guam Congress Building. That's the legislature right across from the cathedral. For Agania Heights, it's Agania Heights Elementary School. For Asin Maina, it is Asin Maina Community Center. For PD, it's Jose Rios Middle School. For Santa Rita, Sumai, it is Harry S. Truman Elementary School. I wonder why they put the period after the S in Harry S. Truman, because if I'm not mistaken, the S doesn't stand for anything. It's just S, right? Let me look that up. Stand by. Harry S. Truman and the S. Yeah, it doesn't stand for anything, so you don't put the period after S. Anyway, for Hoggett, the polling site is Ocean View Middle School. For Humatek, it is Humatek Mayor's Office. For Malesu, it is Malesu Martyrs Elementary School. For Jigo, if your last name begins with the letters A through K, your polling site is Dominican Catholic School, which is right across from Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic Church. That's the same as the last election. And if your polling site is if you vote in Jigo and your last name begins with the letters L through Z, your polling site is D.L. Perez Elementary School, and that's been the same for the past several elections. If you vote in Barrigada, this sounds a little different. I remember when I voted in Barrigada, our polling site was Antala Middle School. But this time, so if you vote in Barrigada, your polling site is PC Lujan Elementary School. If you vote in Mangilao, your polling site is George Washington High School. If you vote in Sinahanya, your polling site is CL Taitsino Elementary School. If you vote in Ordot Chalampago, your polling site is Ordot Chalampago Elementary School. If you vote in Jontnia, I think this has never changed. Your polling site is MU Lujan Elementary School. I used to vote in Jontnia. If you vote in Talafofu, your polling site is Talafofu Elementary School. And if you vote in Inalahan, your polling site is Inalahan Middle School. This information is provided by the Guam Election Commission. Happy Wednesday, Juanita, and good morning to all of you who are watching this on live stream or on the replay on Kandit's Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube channels. Thank you so much for joining. Just a short conversation here. I just wanted to say something short, and it is, and it's because this, more than any other issue over the past couple of months, this has been top of mind, present in the minds of the greatest number of people who have contacted Kandit or have stopped me in any public setting. And it is the question of, are we getting DSNAP? And it's for people who are not SNAP qualified. Sorry, I just got a stupid message from one of my chat groups. If you are not SNAP qualified and you experienced food losses during a natural disaster or as a result of a natural disaster, then once the federal government approves it, once the threshold is met, and that threshold is a major disaster declaration that opens up individual assistance under FEMA, then U.S. Department of Agriculture Food and Nutrition Services will approve the provision of disaster SNAP for people who don't have SNAP. So in Sinlaku, the FNS, USDA FNS approved for SNAP recipients to receive 66 or 67% more in food benefits because of the spoilage that occurred with SNAP residents. For Bavi, so far, benefits have rolled out for SNAP recipients to receive a 33% increase. There's been no explanation as to why the amount went down from Sinlaku to Bavi. But the federal government has disapproved Guam's request for DSNAP for Sinlaku. And we're still waiting for some measurements to be made to determine whether we're going to get DSNAP for Bavi. But I do know a couple of things. I do know that so many people lost food because of Sinlaku and Bavi. And, ranging from anything from $20 worth of spoilage to over $1,000 in spoilage because of food that sat there. And, the power went off and it takes time to repair the damage that's done to these lines or these systems that are exposed to the winds and the rains and, of course, to the branches and all that stuff, right? Or the things that fly because people don't secure them. And so a lot of food spoiled. And that's a lot of money. And for people who live paycheck to paycheck and are not, they don't have the benefit of SNAP, that's kind of hard to come back from. And so that's why it's the number one thing that people ask about. And if it appears or if it seems like, why is it that it's harder to get typhoon relief these days than before, even than from Malwar? I'm here to tell you that that's not just some feeling you have. That's right. You are right. And if you remember, how come the administration needs to ask the legislature for local funding? I don't ever remember needing this much local funding before. I thought FEMA covered almost everything before. You're absolutely right. And when you ask, what is the difference? Why is there a difference? This is what the government of Guam is not saying to you, because this goes against, and they're not going to answer these questions because this is not a transparent administration. The sugarcoat that's going on is they're not telling you that the real reason that the federal government is not granting these requests to help our people is because the federal government doesn't trust the local government. And there are a few reasons for that. Number one, how the local government has dealt with the federal government. Number two, the fact that millions in federal grants, hazard mitigation, and I think it's called the FEMA grant, if I'm not mistaken, millions in grants, grant spending has come under question by the federal government and has yet to be rectified by the local government, no matter what the local government tries to say. And three, how do you expect the federal government to trust the local government when it is in court right now in a criminal case about the theft of millions of dollars of not just federal money, but federal money that was supposed to go to the unemployed, the poor, and even the alleged transactions against the homeless, utilizing programs under this government's discretion? Of course, the feds don't trust the local government, and this is why we're in the predicament we're in. I wanted to answer that question for everybody because I know that aside from this issue of how the administration or how the Josh and Tina campaign, this whole scandal with the anti-special education, the mockery of children with special needs, aside from that, this issue of DSNAP is top of mind for so many people, and I wanted to provide that information because all you're going to get from the government of Guam is sugarcoating or ignoring of questions like these. For Kandit News, I'm Troy Torres. I want to thank you so much for joining me this morning. Please join me tonight for the Troy Torres Show. We were supposed to have for tonight the interview with Tony Atta and EJ Calvo, but that interview is not happening today. They told me that they're not trying to be presumptuous, but if they do prevail in the primary election, then we can have our interview next week. For Kandit News, I'm Troy Torres. Good morning, and God bless you all.
And I'm Sabina Perez.
As your senators, you've seen us fight for lower fuel and utilities costs, lower real property taxes, for the Chamorro Land Trust and affordable housing, to stop meth from entering our island.
For your environment, to remove abandoned vehicles and illegal dumping, for fairness in procurement, and for resources of the government to benefit all the people of Guam.
We've been fighting for you, and that's why we're running for governor
and lieutenant governor.
Please vote Terlahi Perez.
A vote for us is a vote for Guam.
I am Therese Terlahi.
You asked, we delivered. Guam AutoSpot is extending our overstock sell-off with the hottest deals on island, like our 2025 GMC Canyon with $4,000 off, or slide into a brand new Mitsubishi Eclipse Cross, starting at just $24,995. September is your chance to drive big and save even bigger. Visit us today or get pre-approved online at guamautospot.com or call 478-AUTO. Guam AutoSpot, where the savings never stop.
This stuff's hitting the spot.